We're diving into a timeless story from ancient India, and it's all about a king who seems to have it all. We're talking wealth, fame, power, the whole deal. And then there's this humble cart driver who has the one thing the king secretly craves: real knowledge. It's a fantastic tale about the clash between worldly pride and true wisdom.
So just imagine this for a second. You are a king. You're famous all across the land for your generosity and good deeds. Then one night, you overhear a conversation between two swans of all creatures, and they just drop this bombshell. They start talking about some mysterious guy named Raikwa, whose wisdom makes yours look like a tiny flickering candle next to the sun. Well, for our king, Janashruti, hearing those words, it changed everything.
And right there, that's the question that kicks off this whole story. I mean, who could possibly be wiser than a great, powerful, and generous king? Well, the answer is so far from what anyone would expect, and the search for him, that's where our journey really begins.
Okay, Section 1, A King's Perfect Pride. First, let's get to know our main character, King Janashruti, a man who honestly believed he had reached the absolute pinnacle of virtue.
By all accounts, King Janashruti was a model ruler. I mean, his generosity was legendary. He built rest houses for travelers. He made sure nobody in his kingdom ever went hungry, and he was constantly just giving away his incredible wealth. So what's the problem? The problem was he knew it. He was totally aware of how good he was, and he believed that all these public acts of charity made him not just a good man, but the wisest and most virtuous man alive. His good deeds were completely tangled up in his own pride.
So this sets up such a powerful contrast, right? On one side, you've got the king. He's famous, he's wealthy, and he defines his entire worth by what he gives away publicly. And on the other side, you have this total enigma, Raikva. He's unknown, he's obscure, and his worth is based on something completely internal and hidden. This is really the ultimate showdown between external status and internal wisdom.
And this is the exact moment it all kicks off. Picture it, a quiet night, the king just resting on his terrace, and then this chance overhearing of a conversation between two birds. It's such a tiny, random event, but it plants this seed of doubt that is so powerful it completely upends the king's entire world. He just can't let it go. He now has to find this Raikva.
All right, Section 2, The Cart Driver's Rejection. Now, this is the part of the story where the king's power and all his wealth are put to the ultimate test, and, spoiler alert, they fail spectacularly.
So the king launches this massive search party. His messengers go absolutely everywhere, asking every person they meet, "Hey, have you seen a great sage named Raikva?" But they find nothing. They're searching monasteries, towns, remote forests. They're expecting to find some famous teacher surrounded by all his disciples. They couldn't have been more wrong. And then, finally, one of the messengers finds him, but not in a temple, not in a palace, but in a field. The great sage Raikva is just a poor, unassuming man sitting under his cart, literally scratching his sores. He is the absolute, complete opposite of what the king expected, and it just shatters every preconceived notion of what wisdom is supposed to look like. So the king shows up and does what he always does. He tries to solve the problem by throwing wealth at it. He offers gold, cows, a fancy chariot, and Raikva's response is just devastating to the king's ego. He just dismisses it all. "Nah, I'm good." The king's currency, his material wealth, it has no value here. The price of admission to Raikva's wisdom is clearly something else entirely.
Let's move to Section 3, An Offering of Surrender. This total rejection forces the king to have a major realization. He can't just offer things anymore, he has to offer a piece of himself.
You can really see the king's transformation just by looking at his two offers. The first one, the material offer, it's totally impersonal, right? It's an attempt to buy knowledge, and it fails. The second time, though, the king comes back with a truly sincere offer, his own daughter in marriage, and a whole village to support them. See, this isn't just a gift. It's an act of profound humility. He's offering his family, his legacy. He's finally placing himself in the true position of a student.
And that was the key. Raikva didn't actually care about the daughter or the village. What he cared about was the transformation he saw in the king. He saw that the king's pride had finally been broken, and it was replaced by a genuine, sincere desire to learn. The king had finally paid the true price for knowledge, his own ego.
Okay, Section 4, The Wisdom of the Wind. Now that the king has proven himself worthy, Raikva is ready to reveal his core teaching. So, what is this profound secret that he's about to share?
Raikva begins to teach the king about the Atman.
Now, in Hindu philosophy, this is a huge concept. It's the universal self, this eternal, unchanging consciousness that lives inside every single living thing. You can think of it as the divine spark that connects the king, the cart driver, and yep, even those swans in the sky.
To explain this massive, infinite, invisible concept, Raikva uses the perfect metaphor, the wind or the air. Think about it. It's everywhere, it's touching everything, it sustains all life, yet it remains one, single, unified force. The Atman, he teaches, is just like that. It's the unseen unifier of all existence.
So let's just boil this down to the key takeaways. First, all the things the king valued so much, his charity, his status, his rituals, they're basically meaningless without true knowledge. Second, the highest virtue isn't about being publicly generous. It's about achieving wisdom without ego. And finally, the ultimate goal of all of this is to realize that your individual self, the Atman, is actually one and the same with the ultimate reality of the entire universe, which is known as Brahman.
And that brings us to our final section, the lesson that endures. This powerful teaching sparks a massive transformation in the king, and the story's conclusion really shows why this ancient tale is still so relevant for us today.
You can really see the king's transformation laid out so clearly here. His motivation completely shifts from seeking fame and feeling superior to seeking truth and a sense of unity. He stops measuring his worth by what he gives away, and he starts measuring it by what he understands on the inside. His entire legacy changes from just being a generous king to becoming a truly enlightened ruler. It's a profound shift.
And that right there is the timeless moral of the story. This tale, from one of the oldest sacred texts of Hinduism, the Chandogya Upanishad, isn't really just about a king and a sage. It's a universal lesson. You can't fill a cup that's already full. Before you can ever receive true wisdom, you first have to empty yourself of your own pride.
So we end with a question that really turns this ancient story back on us. We all have things we're proud of, right? Identities we hold on to so tightly. The story of Raikva and Janashruti asks us to really consider what might we be blind to because of that pride. It asks, if the ultimate truth was offered to you, what part of your ego would you actually be willing to surrender to receive it?